The cafe went silent the moment her voice cracked. Not the gentle kind of silence that comes from peaceful mornings and soft music, but the heavy, awkward kind, the kind that spreads when strangers suddenly witness someone's heart breaking in public. Her words trembled through the air. Please, someone date me for free. A few people chuckled under their breath. Someone near the counter whispered something that made another person snicker. Phones lifted slightly, as if the moment was strange enough to record but not important enough to care about. But the young woman sitting by the window didn't notice any of that. Her hands were shaking too much. Tears slid quietly down her face as she stared at the empty coffee cup in front of her, the foam already fading into thin brown rings. Outside the large glass window, the afternoon sky hung gray and heavy, like it understood exactly how she felt. She hadn't meant to say it out loud. It had slipped out, and now the entire cafe was staring. Before the story continues, take a moment to support the channel. If you believe every story hides a lesson somewhere inside it, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Stories. Your support helps these real human moments reach more hearts. The woman's shoulders trembled as she wiped her eyes with the sleeve of her denim jacket. Underneath it, a soft yellow dress peeked through, slightly wrinkled like it had been pulled from the closet in a hurry. She looked exhausted, not the kind of tired that sleep fixes. The deeper kind, the kind that comes from years of feeling invisible. She was 29 years old, though tonight she felt much older. Her friends had all moved on with their lives. Engagement photos filled her phone screen whenever she opened social media. Weddings, babies, anniversaries. Meanwhile, her own dating life had turned into something almost humiliating. The last man she had gone out with had quietly asked the waiter for separate checks before dessert even arrived. The one before that had spent the entire evening talking about his ex. And the one before that had simply stopped replying after 3 dates without explanation. At first she laughed about it. Then she started questioning herself. Tonight was supposed to be different. She had planned a blind date here in this exact cafe. She arrived early, nervous but hopeful, rehearsing polite conversation in her head. But the chair across from her stayed empty. 30 minutes passed, then 40, then an hour. Finally, a message appeared on her phone. Sorry, something came up. 3 cold words, nothing more. Something inside her broke right there between the untouched coffee and the empty chair. And before she realized what she was doing, the words spilled out of her mouth through quiet sobs. Please, someone date me for free. The cafe watched, some with pity, some with amusement, most with indifference, but one person didn't look away. At a small table near the corner sat a man who had been silently helping a little girl color on a napkin with crayons. He looked up slowly. He wasn't laughing, he wasn't whispering, he was just watching her with a quiet, thoughtful expression, like he understood something no one else in the room did. The little girl beside him tugged his sleeve. She was about 6 years old, with messy brown curls and a bright red sweater that was slightly too big for her. Her small voice broke the silence between them. Daddy, why is that lady crying? The man exhaled slowly. He looked down at his daughter, then back toward the young woman sitting alone by the window. Sometimes, life gives people a moment. A small decision, something that seems simple but quietly changes everything afterward. He stood up. The chair legs scraped softly against the floor, drawing a few curious glances. He picked up 2 cups of hot chocolate from the counter, one for his daughter, 1 fresh cup of coffee, and walked across the cafe. The woman didn't even notice him approaching. She was staring down at the table, trying desperately to stop crying. Then a warm cup gently slid across the wood toward her. She looked up. Standing there was the man, around 35, wearing a dark burgundy sweater and jeans. His eyes were calm, kind, and slightly tired in the way only single parents often look. Beside him stood the little girl clutching her hot chocolate like it was treasure. The man sat down across from her. Not dramatically, not awkwardly, just, simply, like it was the most natural thing in the world. The woman blinked in confusion. Her eyes were still red. She quickly wiped her face, embarrassed. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The rain outside had started lightly tapping against the glass. People in the cafe had returned to their conversations, the strange moment already fading from their attention. But for the 3 people at that small table, something quiet and unexpected had begun. The man leaned back slightly, resting his arm casually on the bench behind her chair, not invading her space, just offering a quiet presence. The little girl studied the woman curiously. Then she smiled. A small, fearless child's smile. The kind that doesn't know how to judge strangers yet. And something about that smile made the woman laugh through her tears. Not a big laugh, just a small, shaky one. It was the first time she had laughed all day. Outside, the rain grew heavier. Inside the cafe, the world kept moving. But at that table, time slowed. They talked, not about dating, not about broken expectations, just about small things. The little girl proudly explained that she had just lost her first tooth. She showed the tiny gap in her smile like it was a trophy. The woman listened, surprised at how quickly the weight in her chest was loosening. The man shared quiet stories about raising his daughter alone after losing his wife 3 years earlier. There was no drama in the way he said it, just honesty, and strangely, comfort. The woman realized something she hadn't felt in a long time. She wasn't trying to impress anyone. She wasn't pretending to be perfect. She was just being herself. And somehow, that felt enough. An hour passed, then another. Eventually the rain slowed. The cafe lights grew warmer as evening settled outside. Before they left, the little girl slipped her crayon drawing across the table. It showed 3 stick figures under a big smiling sun. The woman stared at it for a long moment. Her eyes filled again, but this time, the tears felt different. If this story touched something in your heart, take a moment to like, share, and tell us in the comments how it made you feel. Sometimes the smallest stories leave the deepest marks. And before the ending, I want to ask you something special. Comment the word kindness below if you believe one small act from a stranger can change someone's entire day. Because sometimes, the person who sits down beside you during your worst moment isn't there to fix your life. They're just there to remind you that you were never as alone as you thought. And sometimes, that's enough to change everything.